Russia announced another stop of gas flows from Nord Stream 1. What do you think about that? I mean, are they ever going to resume, do you think?
I think it's not a surprise. Nobody should be surprised by this very last decision of the Russian government. We need to be prepared for a total cut of gas supply from Russia. And we have been preparing that kind of decision with President Macron, with many other member states over the last weeks and the last month. So we must be prepared, which means reducing our gas consumption. This is the first thing to do. Then diversifying our supply chains. That's exactly what we are doing now. And also trying to build for the future new energy production thanks to renewable energies and nuclear energy. So don't be surprised. We all expected that kind of decisions, and we will be prepared.
And the decision yesterday by the G7 to impose a price cap on Russian oil, how much do you think this is going to reduce the oil income, the income for Russia?
I think that the purpose is really to reduce oil revenues for Russia, because we don't want to put sanctions against Russia, and on the other side to have Russia benefiting of revenues from oil or from gas. So the idea of capping the price of oil is, I think, the right one. And the fact that the G7 decided to move on that direction is really very good news. Then there remains 3 points that must be fixed over the next weeks. The first one is, of course, to get the unanimity of the 27 member states of the EU, because if you want to change the rules of the sixth package, you need the unanimity of the 27 member states. And let's be clear, you cannot take that for granted. The second point is the outreach. We need to convince other partners outside the G7 to join that initiative, because we don't want that G7 initiative to be a Western initiative against Russia. We want this capping of oil price to be a global initiative against war in Ukraine. That's totally different. And the third point is a technical point, but a quite important one, which is how to define the level of price that might be required.
And on the EU unanimity, how do you think to convince reluctant countries? I'm thinking Hungary first.
I think it will be a challenge. Let's be very clear. It might take time, but explaining to all the 27 member states that if we want to be consistent with the policy of sanctions, there is a need to cap the oil price, seems to me to be the right direction.
There was a closing down in the recent months of many nuclear stations from EDF. Now there have been positive news in the most recent days, but does this put into discussion France's whole nuclear strategy, what happened in recent months?
No, the nuclear strategy has been decided by President Macron. The first challenge is to increase the level of nuclear production and electricity production for France, and I think that we are on the right direction thanks to the good news that we just got from EDF. And then there will be a new package of 6 EPR, 6 new nuclear reactors, which have the view of reinforcing French independence on energy. Because I really think that the key lesson that we should all draw from the Ukraine crisis is the necessity of building European energetic independence.
When do you think that all the reactors are going to be back online?
I hope that at the beginning of the next winter, we must have all the reactors that suffered from technical difficulties to be online and to produce electricity.
One last question, if I may. There has also been talk of joint energy procurement at the EU level. What's your view about this?
I think that everything that we can do to get joint procurement or joint policy is a very interesting way of building the independence of Europe. So I'm fully supportive to that kind of ideas, because the key idea behind that is to build the European independence on energy.